Welcome back. Panelists here, NBC News Chief Washington Correspondent Andrea Mitchell, Jeremy Bash, former Chief of Staff at the Defense Department and at the CIA, Danielle Pletka of the American Enterprise Institute, and NBC News Chief White House Correspondent Kristen Welker. Kristen, I'll let you kick things off here. The president overnight seemed to maybe get more European buy-in on the SWIFT after he said, he almost was dismissive of it before. What is really happening here, and is this White House disappointed that the Europeans haven't even gone further?
Well, I think that President Biden, and he said during that press conference that there were divisions among the Europeans. Behind the scenes, I'm told there was a lot of arm twisting trying to get everyone on board. And so what you saw yesterday is the Europeans come together and agree to kick certain Russian financial institutions out of the SWIFT banking institution. And I think that caught the Russians off guard, as have just about everything else that we've witnessed, the protests in the street in Russia, the fact that Zelensky has been so defiant, the fact that the Ukrainians have held them off night after night. So the question is, what does the administration do now? They are looking to Congress to get more funding and I think more military support.
But what they really have to make is a big decision about counterinsurgency. How involved are we going to get overtly or covertly inside Ukraine, or supporting training outside Ukraine? There is a dispute over that. But, the SWIFT, what they did on SWIFT, there's still big holes. It's Swiss cheese, really, on SWIFT, because first they have to wait for the Belgian leaders, the board of directors, to approve it next week. They've got a big cutout for any banks that are involved in energy transactions. So that's to protect Germany and Italy and others. And which banks are those? They could be some of the worst oligarch-controlled banks. So let's wait to see exactly how it's implemented.
All right, but Putin, I think he looks on his heels. Do you agree?
He looks on his heels.
Can we keep him there?
No, we can't keep him there. This is a very, very serious country. They're not as serious as we are, but they've got a big military. They've got nuclear weapons. They've got enough personnel and enough firepower to eventually do what they want in Ukraine. The problem is at what cost? And eventually, what are we going to do? I mean, this is the question that Andrea raises. And, I do think the sanctions are a big part of this. The fact that the sanctions have all of these loopholes is a big problem. What are we doing on the Russian central bank? What are we going to supply to the Ukrainians in order to support them? How are we going to backfill Poland and others that are depleting their own defensive stocks in order to support the Ukrainians? None of those questions have been answered.
Well, a senior official did say last night that they are disarming the Russian central bank and stopping it from being able to support the ruble. I'm not sure that's possible to do.
And by the way, sorry, Jeremy, but do you realize that the Treasury has done nothing? I went looking all over the Treasury site to see what the rules were. Nothing yet.
This is a huge miscalculation by Putin, and I think this is like the Soviets in Afghanistan, and I think this may be an opportunity for the United States and the West to actually deliver a very fatal blow to Russia's ambitions on the global stage. I think swallowing Ukraine, a country the size of Texas with 40 million people, is unprecedented since World War II. And if the United States can train and equip the Ukrainians and, I think, engage in a second Charlie Wilson's War, basically the sequel to the movie and the book, which is arming and training a determined force that will shoot Russian aircraft out of the sky, open up those tanks with can openers like the Javelins, and kill Russians, which is what our equipment's doing. I think there's a huge opportunity to hit Putin very hard.
Well, and I think that the Ukrainians' defiance has actually bought them a little bit more time and bought Washington a little bit more time to figure out exactly what they are going to do. And this is a rare moment. All of the loopholes you mentioned, Andrea, where you have Republicans and Democrats actually pretty united, saying we have to do more, looking at each other, pointing the finger and saying, let's get back to the table and
you're watching the Ukrainians
fight.
Yes.
Exactly.
And Zelensky in his videos, I think of him as sort of the Jon Stewart, the politically active comedian, now president. And the question is, are they going to be crushed? Because Russia knows how to crush them if they want to. If Putin is crazy enough to take on the apartment buildings and the civilian populations and move in and move his people out of tanks. You saw the tank that went up and swallowed the car. The passenger, the driver survived. But if he's crazy enough to do that, yes, there'll be reactions, but he'll crush the reactions. We look at these protests. Yeah. The protesters are going to be crushed.
Jeremy, what is our ability to gum up his... I mean, if we're concerned that Putin is crazy enough to try a tactical nuke, that's been my concern. That not full bore, but he might try something. do we have the ability to stop this?
We have tactical nuclear weapons in Europe, Chuck. We have national missile defenses to protect the homeland. But if he fires off a nuclear weapon in Europe, that's going to be a very obviously tragic situation. And the only way to stop him there is to deter him by saying, we're going to make you pay 10, 20, 50 times harder than anything you can hit us with.
Is it realistic? Is the Julius Caesar solution realistic, Danny?
The Julius Caesar solution being that someone stabs him in the rotunda? No.
I say this because if you squeeze the oligarchs hard enough, right? If you squeeze the rich elites around them, will they try to do something?
On March 15th, perhaps?
The Ides of March are coming. No, I don't think it's realistic, as much as I think highly of Jim Stavridis, who suggested that to you.
Yeah.
Look, Bashar al-Assad is still in power. Putin is a much savvier, much more shrewd tyrant. He's not going to put anybody who might stab him in the rotunda anywhere near
He's
him.
only talking to 2 people, right now. That's one of the problems. He's so isolated. He's not talking to the Lavrovs and the others who have more Western experience.
Kristen, does the White House realize the State of the Union probably is only going to be remembered for whatever he says about Ukraine and Russia?
That right now is the key question inside the White House. I have asked if he has recast his entire speech. There are some who want him to make this State of the Union address a message that we are in a fight right now, democracies against autocracies. It's not clear that they are prepared to go that far. At this point in time, it seems the speech is still very focused on inflation.
It would be a little weird to hear the words "Build Back Better." I'll be honest.
Yes, but Chuck, here's the thing. This is a moment where foreign policy is intersecting with domestic politics. Everything that happens in Russia right now, every step that the U.S. takes impacts inflation. So the White House has to figure out how to really get that message across, that the president is listening, that he gets it, and that he's prepared to do something.
If you look at the
about
polls,
it.
I don't know if the public's listening to him right now. Whether
Well,
that's fair or unfair
this
to him,
is a
it's just
chance for
fact.
him to seize the mantle back, but the question is he going to do it?
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.